What's up? I'm back. Hit you with the business stuff. Now I'm hitting you with the law stuff. Today we're talking about, is there ever a time when you would need like two revocable living trusts? The answer is yes, sometimes, in rare instances. Before I get to that though, I want to always remind you, if you want to talk more estate planning, go to cmslawfirm.com. Set up a time to talk with us over the phone for free. cmslawfirm.com. Okay. Got to get that jingle in there before anybody starts watching. But today's topic, two trusts, comes from, as usual, a potential client meeting that I had this morning. So to give you some background, and this will sort of set the stage for when you might want to have two trusts. Most of the time, let's start when you might have one trust. Most of the time, when people come and talk to me, they are married. If it's a married couple, for example, they've been married for a long time. They've accumulated a lot of property together. They want to make sure that, when one spouse dies, all the property goes to the other spouse. And then when the second spouse dies, all the property goes to the kids or to some other sort of agreed upon place. That is a great recipe for one trust. You sort of just put everything into one. When the one dies, the other one's still there to use everything. And then when the second one dies, everything goes where it's supposed to go, right? One trust. I talked to a couple today that was, they were not married, but they'd been together for a long time. They had pretty much everything was together. They were using everything together, but they wanted or were thinking about doing two trusts. The reason was they wanted to just make sure everything went the right direction. They weren't sure. They thought two trusts would be the answer. For them, even as a sort of an unmarried couple that again wanted everything to go to the spouse and then everything to go someplace after that, that's still pretty much a recipe for one trust. If you're worried because there is separate property involved, let's say that you brought property into the relationship and you want to keep it separate, and you're worried about putting it into the trust because you're worried that it will become, commingled and it will lose its separate distinction, its separateness, if you will. The language of the trust typically says, ours typically says, and it definitely says it if it comes up, that property that goes into a trust retains its character while in trust. So, for example, if you owned a house and then you hooked up with your boo, or whatever, and that house was yours and it's still yours all the time, you decide to create a joint trust because you want everything to go to them anyway. If you break up, in the meantime, you want to keep your house. You can put that into a joint trust, and that when the house goes into the trust, it remains your separate property. And when it comes out, it remains your separate property. Like if you break up, you take the house out of the trust, it remains your separate property. So that is an instance when you might want to just have the same trust, because in effect you want everything to go to your boo, to your significant other, and that will do the trick. Now, the time when you might want to have separate trusts, and I've done separate trusts before on a couple of occasions, is some people, when they get into relationships, they keep everything separate. Everything remains separate. The agreement or the understanding is that everything will remain separate when someone dies. The person that is, whoever dies first gets to say where they want their stuff to go. Some of it can go to the significant other. Some of it can go to wherever else they want it to go. In that instance, I will often suggest separate trusts. And the only reason I do that is because it just makes everything simpler. Each person can direct all of their assets, all of their funds into one specific trust. When they are gone, that trust becomes irrevocable, which allows them to still provide and give the stuff to the significant other, but make sure that those downward distributions after the fact are retained and secured. And it just makes everything clean and nice and simple. And that's what I'm trying to go for pretty much all the time. Clean, nice, simple, understandable. And that's the time when you want to have two trusts, potentially. So if you find yourself in that situation, you're not sure if you should have two trusts, you're not sure if you should have one trust, you're not sure, I think the first thing to do is just call someone and ask them. I would be able to tell you in about 15 minutes, maybe probably less than that, if you need one. Just asking you a couple questions about your specific situation, about your goals, about the things you're trying to do. I can tell you what you need in your life. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was like even slightly interesting. If it was, maybe you hit the like button. Maybe you leave me a comment and say, hey, good job. That'd be amazing. Or maybe you just make sure that you do the right thing for your family. That'd be cool too. If you want to talk to me more, you can go to cmslawfirm.com, CM like Michael S lawfirm.com. Set up a time to talk with us over the phone for free, cmslawfirm.com. All right, that's it, everybody. You know who I am. You don't need no further outros. Thanks as always for your time, for your attention. I appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you again soon. See ya.